I've been feeling so down.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Hannah Mukwena, and this channel is called Tepi for Justice, where I will be helping you guys to decode legal jargon. On this specific video, I will be giving you guys a step-by-step guide of the admission procedure. So without any further ado, let's get right into the video. The first thing on your to-do list is to draft your application. In drafting your application, you will need to draft 4 documents. Number 1, you will draft your index to your application. Number 2, you will draft your notice of motion. Number 3, you will draft your founding affidavit. And number 4, you will draft your principal's supporting affidavit. If you have seeded your articles, then you will need an extra document, which is a supporting affidavit of your other principal, and then that is all you will need for your first step. For indexing and paginating, I will discuss that when I do a video on the content of your document. I'll do a separate video where I'll be speaking about what you need to include on your documents. I'll also give you a step-by-step guide of how to index and how to paginate. The second thing on your to-do list should be getting your documents signed. This sounds easy, okay, but it was a bit tricky for me because I had to decide whether I'm gonna sign my own founding affidavit before or after my principals have signed their own affidavit. Then I came to the conclusion that, you know what, I'm gonna sign after they have signed their own affidavits, because it only makes sense that I should do that, as I will attach their affidavits as annexures to my own founding affidavit, and when I sign my affidavit, I'll have to initial all the annexures, so the affidavits will have to be included in my founding affidavit when I sign it. So they will have to sign before me, then I'll sign after them. Clever thing, ne? I thought I was clever until I got a query from the Legal Practice Council, guys. I got a query from the Legal Practice Council telling me that I must get supplementary affidavits from my 2 principals, and they must state that they have read my own founding affidavit after I have signed it, which was a process that I didn't want to go through, didn't want to query, but I got it because I signed after them. So I asked myself, what must happen? Must I have signed before them? But it doesn't make sense, because if I signed before them, then I won't be able to initial their affidavits. So I did an email to the LPC asking them what is the correct way to go about signing the documents. Do you sign before or do you sign after your principals have signed? And I was informed that if you're gonna say in your founding affidavit, or if your principals are gonna say in their supporting affidavit that they have read and they have understood your founding affidavit and they agree with everything that it refers to them, then they will have to have read your affidavit before they can sign their own affidavit. Because if they say that they have read and they have understood your affidavit and they agree with everything that is with regards to them, that refers to them, then that means they must have seen your affidavit, and a founding affidavit is not an affidavit if it's not yet signed. Okay, I hope I make sense. I hope I make sense in explaining what I'm saying, but still it is still confusing to me whether a person should sign before or after their principal have signed. My advice would be that don't include the paragraph that says I agree with everything that the person have said in their affidavit. after all your documents have been deposed to and they're in order, the next thing that you will need to do is to find an attorney who will sign your index application and your notice of motion. The relevant attorney will have to have offices within 15 kilometers of the High Court where you will issue your application. This is in accordance with the uniform rules of court. Now, do not worry. Most of the attorneys do it for free. They don't charge a fee when you ask them to be your correspondents in an attorney admission. So call around, Google attorneys which are around the High Court, then call each offices, ask if they can help you with being your correspondence for an attorney admission in the relevant High Court. Then you're sorted. Right after your correspondent attorney have signed your index to application and your notice of motion, you will take the original copy and then make 4 copies of the original copy. Then you will have 5 bundles. Out of the 5 bundles, you will issue at the High Court. When you get to the High Court, they will have to stamp each bundle and then give you a case number and a court date. Then you will fill in your case number on your index, your notice of motion, your founding affidavit, the supporting affidavits as well, and then you will fill in the date on the notice of motion. Then all the bundle needs to be stamped, right? The index to application and your notice of motion must be stamped by the High Court, by the registrar of the High Court. Then you give them 1 copy, and then you take the 4 copies with the original. That's what happened in my situation. I had the original and 3 copies, and I left 1 copy at the High Court. After you have done that, then you go serve at the Legal Practice Council. At the Legal Practice Council, they must also stamp all 4 of your bundles that you are left with, and then they are gonna take the original and they're gonna take 2 copies, and you will be left with your copy, which you will use for the next step, which we will speak about. Now, in my situation, I forgot to write the case number on the founding affidavit and the supporting affidavits. I went back to the LPC to ask them if I can write it down. I went back to the High Court and asked them if I can write it down, and they said no. Writing it on your notice of motion and on the index to application, it is sufficient. The only thing that you need to do is to make sure that whatever you upload on your case line, which is the next step, it reflects your case number. Now you have your copy of your application and you have issued and served your application. Now the next step is to upload your document, your founding affidavit, your notice of motion, your index to application, your supporting affidavits, and all the annexures you must upload on Caseline. Okay guys, so for those who don't know Caseline, I will do a separate video where I explain what is Caseline, how to upload documents on Caseline, how to register, and all the information that you will need to know about Caseline. For now, I'll just say in short that in Caseline, you basically upload your documents so that the court can have an electronic database of your document. So you will upload your notice of motion separately. You don't upload all of them in one document. You will have to scan them in, and you have separate PDF documents of each of your processes. And then after you have done that, you upload them on your Caseline, where you will also invite your attorney, your advocate, the LPC, anyone you want to have access to your Caseline. And anyone can access your Caseline and look at the documents that have been uploaded. that is it for now. I have to end this video here, but I'll do a part 2 where I will take you through what happens on the court date and what happens before your court date, how to get an advocate, or how to upload your notice of set down, when to upload your notice of set down. But until then, please don't forget to like and comment to this video so that I can get some oomph to do the next one. Subscribe to my channel, and until we meet again, cheers.
Down, yeah. I've been feeling so down.